The fog clung to the ancient stones of Edinburgh Castle like a shroud, muffling the distant clamour of the city below. It was the eve of All Hallows in 1935, and within the opulent Great Hall, Lady Amelia Sinclair, the young heiress to the vast Sinclair fortune, hosted a masquerade ball. Laughter echoed amid the flickering candlelight, masks concealing secrets as old as the castle itself. But as the clock struck midnight, a piercing scream shattered the revelry. Guests rushed to Amelia's private chamber, only to find the door bolted from within, and the room empty. No trace of the heiress, save a single crimson stain upon the Persian rug. Whispers of ghosts stirred, but Hercule Poirot, summoned from afar, knew better. This was no spectral vanishing, but a meticulously crafted murder. Chapter 1. The Summons to the North. The train rattled through the Scottish Highlands, its rhythmic clatter a counterpoint to the swirling fog that pressed against the windows like a living thing. Hercule Poirot sat in his first-class compartment, his gloved hands folded neatly over the silver handle of his cane, his moustache impeccably waxed despite the early hour. The year was 1935, and the damp chill of late October seeped through the carriage, though it did little to unsettle the fastidious Belgian detective. His grey cells, as he so fondly called them, were already stirring, sparked by the urgent telegram from his old friend, Inspector Japp, now awaiting him in Edinburgh. The words were brief but tantalizing. Heiress vanished from locked room. Possible foul play. Your expertise required at Edinburgh Castle. Poirot adjusted his pince-nez and gazed at the misty landscape, where gnarled trees and craggy hills loomed like spectres. "A locked room," he murmured, his voice a soft cadence of French-accented precision. "The impossible crime is always the most intriguing, n'est-ce pas?" He had solved many such mysteries, rooms sealed, bodies vanished, clues defying logic, but each new puzzle was a fresh canvas for his meticulous intellect. The mention of Edinburgh Castle, that ancient fortress steeped in history and whispers of ghosts, only lady and blood. Oh, the little grey cells, they are already dancing. Take me to this castle at once. The drive to Edinburgh Castle was a journey through time. The city's cobbled streets, slick with drizzle, wound upward past tenements and taverns, their windows glowing faintly in the fog. The castle itself loomed atop its volcanic crag, its battlements jagged against the leaden sky, like the teeth of some ancient beast. As their car passed through the iron gates, Poirot noted the sentries standing rigid, their faces pale, as if unnerved by the events within. The air carried a tang of damp stone, and something else. Fear, perhaps, or the weight of secrets long buried. Inside, the great hall was a tableau of faded grandeur. Tapestries depicting forgotten battles hung beside suits of armor, their empty visors staring blankly. The masquerade ball of the previous night had left its mark, scattered champagne flutes, a forgotten feathered mask, and the faint scent of perfume lingering amid the mustiness. Japp led Poirot through the hall to a winding staircase, its steps worn smooth by centuries of feet. "It happened up here," Japp said, his voice low. "Amelia's private chamber. She was hosting the ball, All Hallows Eve, you know, everyone in costumes. At midnight a scream came from her room. Guests broke in, found it locked tight, and when we got the door open, nothing. Just the blood." The chamber itself was a study in opulence and mystery. A four-poster bed draped in velvet dominated the room, its dark wood carved with intricate roses. A Persian rug, its crimson and gold threads vibrant despite the gloom, bore the telltale stain, a dark, irregular blotch, no larger than a saucer. Poirot knelt, his magnifying glass catching the flicker of a nearby candelabrum. "Human blood, you say?" he asked. Confirmed by the police surgeon. Japp replied. Amelia's type, no mistake. But no body, no weapon, no sign of struggle. The windows are barred, the chimney too narrow even for a child. It's as if she dissolved into thin air. Poirot's lips twitched beneath his mustache. Air does not dissolve a woman, a light. This serpent, most intriguing. Now, tell me of the players in this drama. Japp introduced the household, each a potential suspect in Poirot's mental ledger. First was Sir Reginald Sinclair, Amelia's uncle and the estate's manager. A man of 50, with a stern jaw and eyes that flickered with something akin to greed. He stood by the fireplace, his hands clasped behind his back. Amelia was reckless, he said gruffly. Too young to handle the fortune. I managed it for her, but she wanted to sell the mines, our legacy. His motive was clear. Control of the Sinclair wealth, threatened by Amelia's plans. Next was Victor Hargrove, Amelia's fiancé. A handsome man in his late 20s, with a gambler's charm and a nervous tick in his left hand. We were to marry next month, he said, his voice strained. I loved her, but my debts are no secret. She knew, and she didn't care. Poirot noted the hesitation. A lover's devotion, or a calculated facade? Eliza Thorne, the maid, was a slight woman with haunted eyes, her apron immaculate, despite her trembling hands. Milady was kind to me, she whispered, but she found out about my past. A theft, years ago, in London. She didn't dismiss me, but... Her voice trailed off, hinting at blackmail, or loyalty, stretched thin. Dr. Malcolm Fraser, the family physician, was a wiry man with a smoker's rasp and a medical bag that clinked faintly. Amelia was in perfect health, he insisted, puffing on his pipe. No reason for her to vanish. Yet Poirot's sharp eyes caught a vial of sedative in his bag, its label matching the chloroform scent. As the interviews concluded, the castle seemed to close in, its shadows lengthening with the fading light. Poirot paced the chamber, his cane tapping rhythmically. The bloodstain suggested violence, but the absence of a body hinted at staging. The chloroform pointed to premeditation, yet the locked door defied explanation. Was it a murder, a kidnapping, or something stranger? The diary's warning echoed in his mind. A serpent among them, coiled and waiting. He stepped to the window, peering into the fog. The battlements were barely visible, leather-bound tomes. The air was thick with the scent of aged paper and wax polish. A sanctuary of knowledge that seemed to hold its breath, as if guarding the secrets of the vanished heiress, Lady Amelia Sinclair. Poirot's polished shoes clicked softly on the oak floor as he paced, his hands clasped behind his back, his mustache twitching with the faint hum of his gray cells at work. The locked-room mystery of Amelia's disappearance, marked only by a crimson stain and a whiff of chloroform, was a puzzle that demanded precision, and Poirot was nothing if not precise. Inspector Japp, his coat slung over a chair, stood by a roaring fire, his face a map of frustration. Monsieur Poirot, we've turned the castle upside down. No sign of her. Not a hair, not a footprint. It's as if the devil himself spirited her away. His voice carried the rough edge of a Londoner far from home, and his hands fidgeted with a pencil, betraying his unease. Poirot raised a finger, his green eyes sharp. The devil, mon ami, does not bolt doors from within, nor leave blood on Persian rugs. This is the work of a human mind, a clever one, perhaps, but not infallible. We must learn who Lady Amelia was, for in her life lies the key to her vanishing. He turned to the assembled household, seated stiffly around a long mahogany table, their faces a gallery of guarded expressions. Mesdames et messieurs, tell me of the heiress, her habits, her fears, her enemies. Sir Reginald Sinclair, Amelia's uncle, sat at the table's head, his broad shoulders squared like a general facing battle. His gray hair was impeccably combed, but his eyes,
dark and deep-set, flickered with something Poirot recognized. Ambition, perhaps, or guilt. "Amelia was my brother's daughter," he began, his voice a low growl. "After he and his wife perished in a shipwreck off the Orkneys, she inherited the Sinclair fortune, the mines, the estates, all of it. At 22, she was too young, too headstrong. She wanted to sell the mines, modernize everything. I advised against it. The Sinclair legacy is not—"
Face and wide eyes suggested a woman haunted, and her voice trembled as she spoke. "Milady was kind, sir. She took me in when others wouldn't, knowing my past, a theft years ago, a foolish mistake in London. She never held it over me, but she knew. Lately she seemed troubled, always looking over her shoulder." Eliza's gaze dropped, and Poirot wondered, was her loyalty genuine or a mask for blackmail? Dr. Malcolm Fraser, the family physician, puffed on a pipe, his wiry frame slouched in a chair. His medical bag rested at his feet, its leather worn but pristine, a detail that spoke of meticulous care. "As her doctor, I can confirm Amelia was in perfect health," he said, his Scottish burr softened by years in London. "No ailments, no signs of distress. This vanishing, it's incomprehensible." Yet Poirot's sharp eyes caught a glint in the bag, a vial, its label partially obscured but unmistakably a sedative, perhaps chloroform. Fraser's hands, steady as he lit his pipe, betrayed a faint tremor when Poirot's gaze lingered. Poirot paced slowly, his cane tapping a deliberate rhythm. "Each of you had a connection to Lady Amelia, and each, perhaps, a reason to wish her gone. But let us examine the facts. The room was locked, the blood was hers, and the scent of chloroform suggests premeditation. We must uncover what she knew, what she feared." He paused, letting the silence press against their nerves. "Monsieur Japp, what do we know of the night of the masquerade?" Japp flipped open his notebook. The ball was in full swing, hundreds of guests, all masked, music and dancing till midnight. Amelia was seen in her costume, a silver gown with a peacock mask, laughing and mingling. Then she slipped away, saying she needed air. Next thing, a scream from her chamber. Guests rushed up, found the door bolted, took 10 minutes to break it down. Inside, nothing but the blood and that eerie emptiness. Poirot nodded, his mind cataloguing details. He requested to see Amelia's diary, which Japp produced from evidence. The leather-bound volume was elegant, its pages filled with her flowing script. They moved to the moat, its dark water still and unyielding. A groundskeeper mentioned an oddity, ripples seen the night of the ball, as if something heavy had been cast in. Divers had found nothing, but Poirot's mind churned. A body? Or a distraction? He filed the thought away. Back inside, Poirot questioned Eliza alone in a small parlor, its walls adorned with faded portraits of Sinclair ancestors. "Mademoiselle Thorne, you spoke of Amelia's kindness. Did she confide in you?" Eliza hesitated, then nodded. "She mentioned a man from Paris. A lover, maybe. She kept his picture in a locket, but never showed me." Poirot's eyebrows rose. A secret lover? A potential motive for Victor, perhaps? Or a red herring, planted to mislead? Next, he confronted Dr. Fraser in the castle's infirmary, where the physician was cataloguing supplies. "Monsieur le Docteur, this chloroform, most unusual for a household, no?" Fraser's pipe nearly fell. "I use it for medical purposes, Monsieur Poirot." Rare, but not unheard of. Yet his eyes avoided Poirot's, and the vial's presence gnawed at the detective's suspicions. Sir Reginald was less forthcoming, his study a fortress of ledgers and maps. "Amelia was meddling," he snapped. "The mines are the heart of our wealth. Selling them would ruin us." Poirot spotted a ledger with irregularities, funds siphoned perhaps. You managed her fortune, Monsieur Sinclair. Did she suspect you? Reginald's face reddened. She was family. I'd never harm her. But his voice lacked conviction. Victor, questioned in the conservatory amid wilting roses, admitted to a quarrel with Amelia days before. She was upset about my debts, he said, his hands twisting. But we reconciled. Poirot noted a pawn ticket in Victor's pocket. Jewels, perhaps Amelia's, sold to cover bets. As evening fell, the castle's shadows deepened, and the air grew heavy with unspoken truths. Poirot returned to the library, where he found a hidden compartment in a bookshelf, revealing a single sheet, a draft of Amelia's will, disinheriting Reginald in favor of a charity. Mon Dieu, Poirot whispered. Windows, a single bloodstain, and the faint, lingering scent of chloroform. Poirot's polished cane tapped softly on the Persian rug as he circled the crimson blotch, his magnifying glass catching the flicker of a gas lamp. "The locked room," he murmured, his French accent sharp and deliberate, "is the canvas of the clever criminal, but no canvas is without its flaws." Inspector Japp, pacing by the door, rubbed his temples. "Monsieur Poirot, we've gone over this room a dozen times. The bolt was shot from inside, guests saw it. The windows are sealed tight, bars rusted in place. That blood's hers, no question. But where's the body? It's driving me balmy." His voice carried the exasperation of a man accustomed to straightforward crimes, not this labyrinth of impossibilities. Poirot's eyes twinkled with the thrill of the challenge. "Patience, mon ami. The impossible is merely a matter of perspective. The little grey cells, they see what the eyes do not." He knelt beside the bloodstain, its edges now dry and curling like a grim flower. The police surgeon's report, delivered that morning, confirmed it was Amelia's blood, type O, a match to her medical records. Yet the absence of a body suggested a paradox: murder without a corpse, or a staged disappearance. "We must consider," Poirot said, rising, "whether the blood is the crime's signature or its deception." He moved to the fireplace, its grate cold and filled with ash. Kneeling again, he sifted through the debris with a silver letter opener, his movements precise. The ash was not from wood alone. Flecks of charred paper mingled within, their edges curling like secrets burned in haste. With painstaking care, Poirot extracted fragments, piecing them together on the hearth. The words were faint but legible. "Hereby amend my will. Estate to not Reginald." Poirot's moustache twitched. "Mon Dieu! A will altered. A mighty most potent for our Sir Reginald, non?" Japp's eyes widened. "You think he—" suggesting a cloth pressed to Amelia's face. "Drugged, then removed," he mused. "But how and where?" Japp interrupted, holding up a small object found in a drawer. A Ouija board, its surface worn and letters faded. "Some of the staff say Amelia dabbled in spiritualism. Think she summoned a ghost that took her?" His tone was half joking, but his eyes betrayed unease. Poirot scoffed, waving a hand. "The spirits, they do not bolt doors nor spill blood. This board is a distraction, a red herring placed to confuse. We seek a human hand, Japp." He set the board aside, his attention drawn to a tapestry on the far wall. Its threads depicted a medieval hunt, but a faint draft stirred its edges. Poirot lifted it, revealing a stone panel that creaked open to a narrow passage, its walls damp and lined with cobwebs. "Voilà," he said, his voice low. "The locked room is not so locked." Japp peered into the darkness, his lantern casting eerie shadows. "A secret passage? But where does it lead?"
We shall discover, Poirot replied, though he chose not to enter yet. The passage was a clue, but its purpose, escape, concealment, or murder, remained elusive. Leaving the chamber, Poirot summoned Victor Hargrove to the library for questioning. The young fiancé sat uneasily, his serpent-embossed cufflinks glinting in the firelight. Monsieur Hargrove, Poirot began, his tone measured. You claim devotion to Lady Amelia, yet your debts are considerable. Did you quarrel with her over money? Victor's jaw tightened. We had words, yes. She wanted me to settle my debts before the wedding, but I'd never harm her. I was in the gardens when she screamed, ask anyone. Yet a guest's statement, relayed by Jap, placed Victor near the chamber at midnight, contradicting his alibi. Poirot noted the discrepancy, his eyes narrowing. The gardens, you say, yet your boots, they carry mud from the moat's edge. Curious, no? Victor paled, but held his ground. I wandered, that's all, looking for her. Next, Poirot questioned Eliza Thorne in the servants' hall, where the clatter of dishes provided
but nothing criminal. Yet his trembling betrayed him, and Poirot filed the lie away. Sir Reginald was last, his study a fortress of maps and ledgers. Poirot presented the burned will fragments. You stood to lose everything, Monsieur Sinclair. Did you act to prevent it? Reginald's face darkened. I managed the estate for her benefit. Yes, she threatened to sell the mines, but I'd never harm her. I was in the great hall when she screamed. Dozens saw me. His alibi held, but the ledgers showed irregularities, funds siphoned, perhaps to cover debts or secure power. As noon approached, Poirot returned to the chamber, his mind a whirl of clues. The blood, the chloroform, the passage, the burned will. Each suspect had a motive: Reginald's greed, Victor's debts, Eliza's past, Fraser's addiction. But the puzzle lacked its final piece. He re-examined the diary, finding another cryptic note. The serpent watches from the shadows. The serpent again. Victor's crest. Or a metaphor for betrayal. The castle's silence was broken by a servant's cry from the courtyard. Monsieur Poirot! Tracks in the mud, near the stables! Rushing outside, Poirot found footprints leading to the moat, too large for Amelia's. Beside them, a discarded cigarette butt bore Fraser's brand. Another thread, Poirot murmured. But was it evidence or misdirection? As he pondered, a shadow moved in the tower above, fleeting but deliberate. Jap drew his revolver, but Poirot stayed his hand. Not yet, mon ami. The serpent is restless, and we are close to its lair. The passage, the footprints, the chloroform, all pointed to a meticulously planned crime. But the body's absence gnawed at him. Was Amelia dead, hidden, or alive in some elaborate ruse? The grey cells hummed, and Poirot knew the answer lay just beyond his grasp, waiting in the castle's shadows. Chapter 4. Whispers in the Fog. The fog thickened around Edinburgh Castle, wrapping its ancient stone. His voice held a mix of skepticism and unease, a copper unaccustomed to crimes that defied logic. Poirot's cane tapped the stone as he moved toward a corner of the battlements, where a pile of leaves concealed a discarded object. He knelt, his gloved hand retrieving a mask from the masquerade ball, a serpent's visage, its scales painted in emerald and gold. Victor Hargrove's mask, Poirot said, holding it aloft. Found far from the great hall, smeared with mud. Did our dashing fiancé play the phantom to distract us? The mud matched samples from the moat, a detail that sharpened Poirot's suspicions. Returning to the castle's library,
Poirot confronted Victor, who lounged by a window, his charm fraying under scrutiny. "Monsieur Hargrove, your mask was found on the battlements, where a ghost was sighted. You claimed to be in the gardens, yet mud from the moat clings to your alibi. Explain." Victor's fingers twitched, betraying nerves. I dropped it during the ball," he stammered. "I searched for Amelia after her scream, wandered everywhere. I must have lost it there." His eyes darted, and Poirot noted the lie, a weak thread in a tapestry of deceit. The detective turned to Sir Reginald Sinclair, whose study was a fortress of ledgers and maps. Poirot presented the burned will fragments from Amelia's chamber. "Monsieur Sinclair, your niece intended to disinherit you. The mines, your legacy, were to be sold. Did you act to preserve your power?" Reginald's face reddened, his voice a growl. "Amelia was misguided, but I loved her like a daughter. I was in the great hall when she vanished. Ask the guests." Yet Poirot's examination of the ledgers revealed discrepancies. Funds siphoned to offshore accounts, enough to suggest embezzlement. "You managed her fortune," Poirot pressed. "Did she discover your theft?" Reginald's silence was answer enough. In the servants' quarters, Poirot questioned Eliza Thorne, whose pale face and trembling hands betrayed her fear. "Mademoiselle, you spoke of Amelia's locket, a Paris lover, you said. Describe it." Eliza hesitated.
Prescriptions. Did she threaten your reputation? Fraser's pipe trembled in his hand. She was concerned, yes, but I explained. Clerical errors, nothing more. The chloroform is for medical use, and that cigarette could be anyone's. His defensiveness was a crack in his composure, and Poirot filed it away. The castle's grounds offered more clues. Poirot revisited the stables, where the torn scrap of Amelia's silver gown had been found. Under his magnifying glass, the fabric revealed a snag, as if caught in haste. Nearby, a stable-boy mentioned a locked trunk in the hayloft, overlooked in the initial search. Poirot opened it, finding a silk scarf stained with a faint chemical odor, chloroform again. "A tool of the crime," he said to Japp, "or another distraction." Back in Amelia's chamber, Poirot re-examined the secret passage behind the tapestry. Its narrow stone steps descended into darkness, leading to the chapel crypt. He lit a lantern, noting scuff marks on the walls, recent, suggesting movement. "Someone used this passage," he told Japp, "to remove Amelia, perhaps, or to stage her vanishing." The crypt itself was empty, its relics dusty, but a faint scratch on the altar caught his eye, a serpent's symbol, carved hastily. The serpent again, Poirot mused. Victor's crest, or a deliberate misdirection? Interviews continued in the great hall, where the masquerade's echoes lingered in scattered feathers and broken glass. A guest, a tipsy dowager, recalled seeing Victor arguing with Amelia before her disappearance, their voices raised over debts and betrayal. Victor denied it, but his alibi weakened further. Eliza, meanwhile, admitted to finding a cryptic note in Amelia's room, slipped under the door. "Meet me at midnight, or all is lost." She hadn't reported it, fearing blame. Poirot took the note, its ink matching Amelia's diary, but the handwriting was different. Whose? Sir Reginald's temper flared when Poirot questioned his financial dealings. "I built this family's wealth," he roared. "Amelia's plans would have ruined us." Yet a letter found in his, or alive, in a scheme yet uncovered. A sudden cry shattered the stillness, echoing from the dungeons below. Japp bolted toward the sound, but Poirot paused, his eyes narrowing. "Another victim? Or a trap?" he whispered. The cry was muffled, almost theatrical, as if designed to lure. The gray cells hummed, sensing the serpent's coils tightening. Poirot descended the spiral stairs, his cane steady, his mind alight with the certainty that the truth lay just beyond the fog, waiting to be seized. Chapter 5. The Hidden Passage. The fog that cloaked Edinburgh Castle seemed to seep into its very stones, lending an oppressive weight to the air as Hercule Poirot descended the spiral staircase toward the source of the cry heard moments before. The damp chill of the castle's lower levels bit at his fingertips, but his mind burned with the fire of deduction. The vanishing of Lady Amelia Sinclair from a locked room, marked by a bloodstain and the scent of chloroform, had woven a tapestry of clues, each thread pointing to a human hand, cunning and deliberate. The secret passage behind the tapestry in Amelia's chamber, revealed earlier, was now the focus of Poirot's grey cells. "The passage," he murmured, his French accent crisp against the echo of his cane on the stone. "It is the key to this enigma, non?" Inspector Japp, lantern in hand, followed close behind, his face taut with unease. "Monsieur Poirot, that cry, it came from the dungeons or the chapel crypt. This place is a maze. If the killer's hiding down there, we're walking into their lair." His revolver gleamed faintly in the lantern's glow, a precaution against the shadows that danced along the walls. Poirot's eyes gleamed with resolve. "The lair of the serpent, perhaps, mon ami. But the serpent does not strike without reason. We shall find its purpose." The passage from Amelia's chamber wound through the castle's ancient bowels, its walls slick with moisture and etched with centuries-old scratches. The air grew colder, heavier, carrying a faint metallic tang. Blood, perhaps, or merely the rust of forgotten iron. The passage opened into the chapel crypt, a cavernous space where stone—
"Think he's our man?" Poirot raised a finger. "Suspicion is not proof, mon ami. The grey cells, they require more." He examined the crypt further, noting scuff marks on the floor, recent, chaotic, as if something heavy had been dragged. "Someone used this passage the night of the ball," he said. "To move Amelia, perhaps, or to conceal evidence." Leaving the crypt, Poirot summoned Dr. Fraser to the library, where the fire crackled with a false warmth. The physician's hands shook as he lit his pipe, his eyes avoiding the handkerchief Poirot placed on the table. "Monsieur le Docteur, this was found in the crypt, stained with blood. Explain." Fraser's face paled, his pipe nearly slipping. I treated a guest's cut during the ball. A minor injury, nothing more. The handkerchief must have been dropped." His voice wavered, and Poirot noted the lie. The blood was Amelia's type, confirmed by Japp's earlier report. "Curious," Poirot said, his tone deceptively mild. "The crypt is far from the ball's revelry, and this chloroform scent, so like that in Amelia's room. Your medical bag holds such a vial, does it not?" Fraser stammered. "It's for surgery, as I said. I'm no murderer." Yet his trembling hands betrayed him, and Poirot filed the inconsistency away. Next, Poirot confronted Victor Hargrove in the conservatory, where wilting roses cast long shadows. The fiancé's serpent-embossed cufflinks glinted as he fidgeted. "Monsieur Hargrove, your debts grow clearer," Poirot said, producing a telegram Japp had intercepted, a demand from creditors for £20,000. "Did you stage Amelia's vanishing for ransom, or worse, to secure her fortune?" Victor's jaw tightened. "I loved her, Poirot. Yes, I owed money, but I'd never hurt her. She was going to help me settle it." His eyes shifted, and Poirot pressed. "Yet you argued, no? She threatened to end the engagement." Victor's silence was answer enough, and the mud on his boots, matching the moat, deepened the suspicion. In the servants' quarters, Poirot questioned Eliza Thorne, whose pale—
Reginald's face darkened. "I managed the estate for her benefit. She was reckless, planning to sell the mines, but I was in the Great Hall. Dozens saw me."
His alibi held, but a map on his desk marked with hidden tunnels suggested knowledge of the castle's secrets. "You knew of the passage," Poirot said. "Did you use it?" Reginald's denial was firm, but his eyes flickered. As evening fell, Poirot returned to the crypt, his lantern casting long shadows. The scuff marks led to a sealed door, rusted shut, leading to the dungeons. Forcing it open, he found a damp chamber, its walls lined with ancient chains. A faint glint caught his eye, a silver hairpin, Amelia's, its peacock design unmistakable. "She was here," Poirot whispered, his heart quickening. But the absence of a body gnawed at him. Was she dead, hidden elsewhere, or alive in a scheme yet uncovered? Back in the library, Poirot reviewed the clues: the handkerchief, the poison, the hairpin, the passage. Each suspect bore a motive: Fraser's addiction, Victor's debts, Eliza's past, Reginald's greed, but the puzzle remained incomplete. The diary's serpent haunted him, Victor's crest, or a metaphor for betrayal. A servant's report interrupted his thoughts. A guest had seen Victor near the crypt's entrance the night of the ball, contradicting his garden alibi. As Poirot pondered, a shadow lunged from the darkness behind a bookshelf, a knife gleaming in the firelight. Japp shouted, tackling the figure, but it slipped away, leaving only a torn glove, monogrammed VH. Victor Hargrove. "The serpent strikes," Poirot said, his voice steady despite the danger. "But why now? To silence me, or to distract?" The glove was too obvious, a possible plant, but it tightened the noose around Victor. The castle's silence grew heavier, broken only by the distant toll of a bell. Poirot's gray cells hummed, weaving threads. The passage, the blood, the chloroform, the serpent.
Poirot's grey cells thrummed, his moustache twitching as he addressed Inspector Japp, who stood gripping his revolver, eyes darting to the darkened corners. "Mon ami," Poirot said, his voice a calm anchor in the tension. "The serpent grows desperate. This attack was no accident. It was meant to silence or to mislead. But the little grey cells, they are not so easily deterred." He lifted the glove, examining it under the firelight. The monogram was clear, but its placement seemed too convenient, a clue planted to incriminate Victor. "We must tread carefully, Japp. The truth is close, but it wears a mask." Japp's face was grim. "That was Victor's glove, Poirot. He's our man, mark my words. First the mask on the battlements, now this. He's playing a dangerous game." His hand tightened on the revolver, but Poirot raised a finger, urging caution. "Suspicion is not proof," Poirot replied. "The glove is a thread, but we must weave the entire tapestry. Let us proceed with method." He turned his attention to the suspects, each summoned to the library for further questioning, their faces a gallery of unease in the flickering glow of the chandelier. Victor Hargrove entered first, his boyish charm eroded by a sheen of sweat on his brow. The serpent-embossed cufflinks gleamed as he sat, his hands twisting. "Monsieur Hargrove," Poirot began, holding up the glove, "this was found where a knife sought my life. Your initials, no? And your mask on the battlements, your footprints by the moat, too many coincidences, perhaps." Victor's eyes widened, his voice sharp with denial. "I swear, Poirot, I was in my room after dinner. I didn't attack you. Someone must have taken my glove. It's a set-up." His protest rang hollow, and Poirot pressed further, revealing a pawn ticket found in Victor's coat. Amelia's sapphire necklace, sold to cover debts. You needed her fortune, Poirot said. Did you stage her vanishing for ransom? Or worse? Victor admitted pawning the jewels, claiming it was for our future. But Fraser was questioned in the infirmary, his pipe smoke curling like a question mark. The bloodied handkerchief with his initials, found in the crypt, lay accusingly before him. "Monsieur le Docteur," Poirot said, "your addiction to morphine. Amelia discovered it, did she not? She threatened exposure, a blow to your reputation." Fraser's hands shook, dropping his pipe. "She was concerned, yes, but I was seeking treatment. I didn't harm her." Yet his medical bag held another vial, chloroform, matching the scent in Amelia's room. Poirot's eyes narrowed. "You were near the crypt, your cigarette by the moat. Did you use the passage to move her?" Fraser's denial was vehement, but his trembling betrayed a crack in his composure. Sir Reginald Sinclair, summoned to his study, stood like a fortress, his stern jaw set. Poirot presented the ledger discrepancies, funds siphoned to offshore accounts. "Monsieur Sinclair, Amelia's plan to sell the mines threatened your empire. The burned will fragments show she meant to disinherit you. Did you silence her?" Reginald's voice was a growl. "I managed her fortune for the family's sake. She was reckless, but I'd never harm her." Yet a map on his desk, marked with tunnel routes, suggested intimate knowledge of the castle's secrets, including the passage. "You knew how to move unseen," Poirot said. Reginald admitted familiarity with the tunnels, but insisted he was in the Great Hall during the scream, an alibi supported by guests. Poirot returned to the crypt, his lantern illuminating the damp stone. The scuff marks and hairpin found earlier hinted at Amelia's presence, but no body emerged. He traced the passage back to the chamber, noting a faint scratch on the wall, a serpent's symbol, like the one in the diary. "The serpent watches," Poirot whispered, recalling Amelia's cryptic warning. Was it Victor's crest, a family emblem, or a metaphor for betrayal? The passage's purpose gnawed at him, a route for murder, concealment, or escape. In the Great Hall, Poirot gathered more witness accounts. A footman recalled seeing Victor near the passage's entrance before midnight, contradicting his garden alibi, or alive in a scheme yet unveiled. A servant's knock interrupted his thoughts, delivering a note slipped under his door. "Leave or die." The handwriting matched the cryptic note Eliza found. "Meet me at midnight." Poirot's eyes gleamed. "The serpent grows bold," he told Japp. "This threat is a sign we are close." But whose hand penned it? The glove pointed to Victor, but its obviousness suggested a frame. Eliza's fingerprints on the knife were too neat, Fraser's handkerchief too convenient, Reginald's alibi too solid. Poirot paced, his cane tapping a rhythm of deduction. The passage was key, but its role remained elusive. Did it lead to a body, a hiding place, or a staged vanishing? The chloroform suggested premeditation, the blood a violent act. Yet the locked room's trick, a string through the keyhole, pointed to cunning. "We are in a game of masks," Poirot said, his voice low. "But the mask will fall, and the serpent will be revealed." As he spoke, a distant thud echoed from the battlements, followed by a low moan. Japp bolted toward the sound, but Poirot paused, his mind racing. Another distraction, or the serpent's next move? The grey cells hummed, sensing the truth lurking just beyond the shadows, ready to strike. Chapter 7. Unravelling Threads. The fog that shrouded Edinburgh Castle thickened as night fell, casting a spectral veil over its ancient ramparts. Hercule Poirot stood in the castle's library, the firelight casting long shadows across the leather-bound tomes that lined the walls. The assault in the shadows, marked by the knife and Victor Hargrove's monogrammed glove, had sharpened the air with menace. Yet Poirot's grey cells thrummed with the clarity of a puzzle nearing its resolution. The vanishing of Lady Amelia Sinclair from a locked room, the bloodstain, the chloroform, the secret passage, and now the threatening note, "Leave or die," wove a tapestry of deception. Each suspect bore a motive, each clue a potential misdirection. But Poirot's meticulous mind was unraveling the threads. "The serpent," he murmured, his friend, the chaos of Amelia's disappearance. First, Poirot revisited the clues with surgical precision. The bloodstain in Amelia's chamber, confirmed as her type, suggested violence, yet the absence of a body hinted at staging. The chloroform, linked to Dr. Malcolm Fraser's medical bag, pointed to premeditation. The secret passage, leading to the chapel crypt, offered a means to move her, unseen. The burned will fragments, disinheriting Sir Reginald Sinclair, revealed a motive rooted in greed. Victor's mask on the battlements and glove in the library screamed guilt, but their obviousness gnawed at Poirot. Eliza Thorne's poison vial and past theft cast suspicion, yet her tears seemed genuine. "Each piece fits," Poirot told Japp, "but the picture is not yet clear." To test his theories, Poirot ordered a search of the moat where ripples had been reported the night of the ball. Divers, braving the icy waters, found nothing, no body, no weapon, but a submerged trunk in the chapel crypt, overlooked in earlier searches, yielded a breakthrough. Inside, wrapped in oilcloth, was Amelia's peacock-feathered mask, its silver threads matching her gown. "She was here," Poirot said, his voice low. "But where now?" The trunk's lock bore scratches, suggesting forced entry, and a faint chemical odour, chloroform again, clung to its lining. Poirot confronted Victor Hargrove in the conservatory, where the scent of dying roses mingled with tension. "Monsieur Hargrove, your mask on the battlements, your glove at my throat, your trail is unmistakable. Yet I wonder, is it too clear?" Victor's face paled, his serpent-embossed cufflinks glinting as he protested. "I told you, Poirot, I was framed. I searched for Amelia that night, yes, but I didn't harm her. Someone took my things." Poirot presented the pawn ticket for Amelia's necklace. "You sold her jewels, no? For debts, or to fund a darker plan?" Victor admitted the sale, claiming, "She gave them to me." But a witness, a footman, placed him near the crypt's entrance, not the guard.
Handkerchief with his initials. "Monsieur le Docteur, your lies multiply. Morphine addiction, forged prescriptions, and now this handkerchief in the crypt. Did Amelia threaten to expose you?" Fraser's pipe trembled as he lit it. "She was helping me, Poirot. She knew of my struggles and urged treatment. I didn't harm her." Yet his medical records, re-examined by Japp, showed discrepancies. Morphine doses unaccounted for, enough to suggest abuse, or worse. The cigarette butt by the moat, his brand, placed him near the scene. "You were there," Poirot said. "Why?" Fraser claimed a late walk, but his eyes betrayed fear. Sir Reginald Sinclair, in his study, faced the ledger evidence. "Monsieur Sinclair, you embezzled from Amelia's estate. Her will's amendment threatened your legacy. Did you use the passage to silence her?" Reginald's jaw tightened. "I managed her fortune to protect it. She was reckless, but I was in the Great Hall. Guests saw me." His alibi held, supported by a dozen witnesses, but the tunnel map on his desk suggested he knew the castle's secrets. "You could have moved unseen," Poirot said. Reginald's denial was firm, but a letter to a rival mine owner, hinting at sabotage, deepened his motive. Poirot returned to the crypt, his lantern illuminating the scuff marks and hairpin. The serpent symbol scratched on the altar nagged at him. Victor's crest, or a deliberate clue? He traced the passage again, finding a hidden alcove with a locked chest. Forcing it open, he discovered a bloodied scarf, Amelia's, its peacock design unmistakable. Another trace, he told Jap, but no body. The serpent hides its prize. In the library, Poirot reviewed Amelia's diary, its warning of the serpent echoing in his mind. A new entry caught his eye. The serpent's venom is in their words. Promises broken. It pointed to Victor, whose engagement was strained by debts and arguments. Yet Fraser's addiction, Eliza's secrets, and Reginald's greed all fit. Scarf. The note. The serpent. The absence of Amelia's body suggested a staged vanishing, but the blood and chloroform hinted at murder. We are in a chess game, he told Jap, and the serpent is a master. But the grey cells, they see the board. As he spoke, a gunshot echoed from the courtyard below, sharp and final, shattering the night's uneasy calm. Chapter 8. The Shot in the Night. The gunshot's echo reverberated through Edinburgh Castle's fog-draped courtyard, a sharp crack that shattered the oppressive silence of the October night in 1935. Hercule Poirot, his polished cane gripped tightly, hastened down the spiral stairs from the battlements, Inspector Jap at his side, revolver drawn. The air was thick with the scent of damp stone and gunpowder, and the shadows seemed to pulse with the urgency of the moment. The mystery of Lady Amelia Sinclair's vanishing, marked by a locked room, a bloodstain, a secret passage, and a web of clues, had taken a deadly turn. The serpent, as Amelia's diary had warned, was striking again. "Mon ami," Poirot said, his voice steady despite the chaos. "The game accelerates. The grey cells must work swiftly now." Jap's face was grim as they reached the courtyard, where a small crowd of servants and guests had gathered, their lantern-lit faces pale with shock. Sir Reginald Sinclair stood clutching his arm, blood seeping through his tailored coat, his stern features twisted in pain. "It's nothing," he growled, waving off a maid's concern. "A graze, that's all. Some fool misfired in the dark." But his eyes, darting towards the castle's looming towers, betrayed fear. Poirot knelt beside him, his magnifying glass glinting as he examined the wound. "A bullet, Monsieur Sinclair, does not fire itself. This was no accident." The shot had come from the direction of the stables, where a discarded revolver lay in the mud. Victor Hargrove's, its monogram unmistakable. Jap seized it, his voice sharp. "Victor again! His glove, his mask, now his gun. He's our man." Testimony placed him near the stables at dusk, contradicting his alibi. Poirot pressed. "You argued with Amelia over debts, no? Her diary speaks of a serpent. Your crest?" Victor's denial was desperate, his eyes shifting. Eliza Thorne, summoned next, clutched her apron, her pale face streaked with tears. Poirot presented the poison vial from Amelia's jewelry box, now confirmed as rat poison. "Mademoiselle, you withheld this clue, fearing your past theft would implicate you. Yet your fingerprints were on the knife that attacked me. Explain." Eliza sobbed. "The knife was in the kitchen. I touched it that day, but I didn't attack you. The poison was for rats, I swear. Milady trusted me." Poirot noted her sincerity, but recalled her words about Amelia's fear. Betrayal close to home. Was Eliza's loyalty a mask, or was she another pawn? Dr. Malcolm Fraser, questioned in the infirmary,
faced the bloodied handkerchief with his initials. "Monsieur le Docteur," Poirot said, "your morphine addiction was Amelia's concern. She threatened exposure, no? And this handkerchief, found in the crypt, bears her blood." Fraser's pipe fell, his voice hoarse. "She was helping me, not threatening. I treated a guest's cut that night. The blood's not hers. Yet Japp's analysis confirmed the blood matched Amelia's type, deepening the doctor's peril. The chloroform in his bag, the cigarette by the moat, each clue tightened the noose. "You were near the passage," Poirot said. "Did you use it?" Fraser's denial was weak, his hands trembling. Sir Reginald, his arm bandaged, sat defiantly in his study. Poirot presented the ledger discrepancies and the burned will fragments. "Monsieur Sinclair, Amelia's plan to disinherit you threatened your empire. This gunshot, perhaps a warning to others." Reginald's jaw tightened. "I was the target, Poirot, not the shooter. My alibi for Amelia's vanishing is solid. Guests saw me in the Great Hall, yet the tunnel map on his desk suggested he could navigate the castle unseen. A letter to a rival mine owner, hinting at sabotage, reinforced his motive. "You knew her plans," Poirot said. "Did you act?" Reginald's silence. Poirot had suspected. The passage allowed the killer to move her unseen, staging the vanishing. But who? Victor's gun, glove, and mask screamed guilt, but their obviousness suggested a frame. Eliza's fingerprints and poison vial were distractions, her loyalty plausible. Fraser's handkerchief and addiction pointed to desperation, but his alibi held. Reginald's embezzlement and tunnel knowledge were damning, yet his wound muddied his role. Poirot reviewed Amelia's diary in the library, its serpent warning echoing, "Their words are venom." A new clue emerged, a torn page hidden in the binding, mentioning a broken promise and the serpent's lair. It pointed to Victor, whose engagement faltered over debts, but also to Fraser, whose addiction Amelia pitied. Eliza's tale of a Paris lover felt like a red herring, the locket possibly planted. Reginald's greed loomed large, but his alibi was ironclad. A servant's report tightened the web. A guest saw Victor slipping a note under Amelia's door, "Meet me at midnight." The handwriting matched the threat Poirot received. "Victor again," Japp growled. But Poirot cautioned, "Too perfect, perhaps. The serpent hides behind another's face." The gunshot, the body, the passage, all converged on a truth Poirot could almost grasp. As he paced, a shadow moved in the corridor, fleeting but deliberate. Japp drew his revolver, but Poirot stayed his hand. "Not yet, mon ami. The serpent tests us, but we are close." The grey cells hummed, weaving clues. The body, the chloroform, the string trick, the serpent. The shot in the night was no accident. It was a move in a deadly game, and Poirot knew the final checkmate was near. Chapter 9. Gathering the Suspects. The great hall of Edinburgh Castle stood solemn under the weight of its ancient tapestries, their faded threads depicting battles long forgotten, as if bearing witness to the unfolding drama of Lady Amelia Sinclair's murder. The fog outside clung to the leaded windows, casting a spectral glow that matched him, isn't it? His Londoner's bluntness cut through the hall, but Poirot's raised finger silenced him. "Patience, mon ami. The evidence is a mask, and we must look beneath. The killer is clever, but not infallible." He turned to the suspects, seated in a semicircle of high-backed chairs, their faces a gallery of fear, defiance, and guilt. Sir Reginald Sinclair, his arm bandaged from the gunshot, sat rigidly, his eyes dark with suspicion. Victor Hargrove, pale and fidgeting,
clutched his serpent-embossed cufflinks. Eliza Thorne, the maid, twisted her apron, her gaze downcast. Dr. Malcolm Fraser, pipe unlit, gripped his medical bag as if it were a shield. The air crackled with unspoken accusations, and Poirot's gray cells thrummed with the certainty of revelation. He began, his voice a measured cadence. Lady Amelia Sinclair was lured to the secret passage, chloroformed, strangled with a cord, and hidden in the crypt. The locked room was a ruse, the bolt manipulated by a string through the keyhole, a classic trick to create an impossible crime. The blood on the rug, her blood, was a flourish to suggest violence, yet the body's absence delayed our understanding. But why? To buy time? To sow confusion? To point fingers? Poirot paced, his cane tapping a deliberate rhythm. Let us examine the red herrings, for the serpent loves deception. The Ouija board in Amelia's drawer, suggesting spiritualism, was planted, likely by Eliza, to deflect suspicion from her past theft. But your tears, Mademoiselle Thorne, and the rat poison you found, prove your loyalty, not your guilt. Eliza's shoulders sagged, relief mingling with fear. He turned to Dr. Fraser, holding up the bloodied handkerchief. Monsieur le Docteur, your initials mark this cloth, found in the crypt with Amelia's blood. Your morphine addiction, your forged prescriptions. Amelia knew, did she not? She urged treatment, but exposure loomed. Fraser's hands trembled, his voice hoarse. She was helping me, Poirot. Victor leapt to his feet, voice cracking. I'm framed, Poirot. I loved her. But the note, meet me at midnight, matched his handwriting, and a footman's testimony placed him near the passage. Poirot paused, letting the silence press against their nerves. The serpent is clever, but the gray cells are relentless. Let us reconstruct. Amelia was lured to the passage at midnight, chloroformed to subdue her, strangled to silence her. The killer used the passage to hide her body, bolting the door from outside with a string to create the locked room illusion. The blood was spilled deliberately, a distraction. But who had the means, the motive, the opportunity? He turned to Fraser. Monsieur le Docteur, your addiction drove you to beg funds from Amelia. When she refused, threatening exposure, your desperation grew. The chloroform, your handkerchief, damning, no? Fraser shook his head, but his trembling betrayed him. To Reginald, Monsieur Sinclair, your greed was clear, embezzlement, a legacy at stake. You knew the passages, could move unseen, but the gunshot against you suggests another's hand. Reginald's silence was heavy, his eyes flickering. To Eliza, Mademoiselle, your past made you vulnerable, but your loyalty to Amelia shines through. The poison was a red herring, your fingerprints on the knife, a plant. Eliza wept, nodding. To Victor, Monsieur Hargrove, your debts, your lies, your presence near the passage, all point to you. Yet the evidence is too perfect. A frame, perhaps. Or is it? Victor's face contorted, his voice a whisper. I didn't do it. Poirot's eyes gleamed as he paced. The serpent's lair is the passage. Its venom, the chloroform. Its strike, the cord. But the motive, that is the heart. Amelia's diary speaks of betrayal, broken promises. Victor, your engagement faltered. She loved another. A Paris lover, or so Eliza claimed. A fabrication, perhaps, to mislead. But the truth lies in her will, her fear, her blood. A new clue surfaced. A servant's discovery in the crypt. A cord, hidden in a crack.
The climax of Lady Amelia Sinclair's murder mystery. The fog outside pressed against the leaded windows, a spectral curtain that mirrored the tension within. Hercule Poirot, his immaculate suit a beacon of order in the chaos, stood at the center, his cane planted firmly, his moustache a perfect arc of resolve. The discovery of Amelia's strangled body in the chapel crypt, the gunshot that grazed Sir Reginald Sinclair, the threatening note, the blooded handkerchief, and the serpent's shadow woven through every clue, had led to this moment. "Mesdames et messieurs," Poirot declared, his voice cutting through the silence like a blade, "the little grey cells have spoken. The serpent is unmasked, and the killer stands among us." Inspector Japp, by the fireplace, gripped his revolver's holster, his eyes darting between the suspects seated in a tense semicircle. "Monsieur Poirot, you've kept us on edge long enough," he said, his Londoner's bluntness tinged with anticipation. "Victor's gun, his glove, his mask, it's got to be him. Let's have it." The suspects, Sir Reginald, Victor Hargrove, Eliza Thorne, and Dr. Malcolm Fraser, sat rigid, their faces a gallery of fear, defiance, and guilt, each waiting for the axe to fall. Poirot raised a hand, his green eyes gleaming. "Patience, mon ami. The serpent is cunning, but the grey cells are relentless. Let us unravel the final threads." He paced, his cane tapping a deliberate rhythm as he reconstructed the crime. Lady Amelia was lured to the secret passage at midnight, chloroformed to subdue her, strangled with a cord, and hidden in the crypt. The locked room was a ruse. A string through the keyhole bolted the door from outside, creating an impossible vanishing. The blood on the rug, her blood, was a flourish to suggest violence, delaying discovery. But why? To sow confusion, to point fingers, to hide the truth. He turned to the suspects, his gaze piercing. "Each of you bore a motive. Sir Reginald, your embezzlement of Amelia's fortune was threatened by her plan to sell the mines and disinherit you. Doctor, your addiction drove you to beg funds, but Amelia's pity, not her threat, shaped your actions. You are not the serpent." Fraser's shoulders sagged, relief mingling with shame. To Sir Reginald, "Monsieur Sinclair, your greed was clear. Ledger discrepancies, a deal to sabotage Amelia's mine sale. You knew the passage could move unseen, yet the gunshot against you and your alibi, dozens in the Great Hall, clear you of the act, if not the intent." Reginald's jaw tightened, but he remained silent. Poirot faced Victor Hargrove, whose pale face and trembling hands betrayed panic. "Monsieur Hargrove, the evidence screams your name. Your mask on the battlements, your glove at my throat, your gun wounding Sir Reginald, your note luring Amelia to her death, meet me at midnight, your debts, your pawned jewels, your crumbling engagement. Amelia's diary names the serpent, your family crest." Victor leapt up, voice cracking. "I'm framed, Poirot. I loved her. Someone stole my things." But his eyes darted, and Poirot pressed forward. "The little grey cells see through the mask," Poirot said. "Let us reconstruct. Amelia argued with you over debts. She ended the engagement, humiliated you. You learned of her plan to disinherit Reginald, threatening your future wealth. At the ball, you slipped her the note, luring her to the passage. You chloroformed her, using Fraser's vial, stolen from his bag. You strangled her with the cord, hid her body in the crypt, and spilled her blood to stage a vanishing. The string trick bolted the door, creating belocked room illusion. Your mask, your glove, your gun, planted to scene framed, a clever double bluff." Victor sneered. "Prove it, Poirot. You've got nothing but guesses." Poirot produced a final clue, a thread of Victor's coat, caught in the crypt's compartment, its fibers matching those on Amelia's gown. A witness, a stable boy, confirmed seeing Victor enter the passage at midnight, not the gardens.
The note's handwriting matched the threat Poirot received. "The serpent's lair is exposed,"
Poirot stood on the battlements, gazing at the Firth of Forth, its waters glinting like a promise kept. "Another triumph for the grey cells," he said softly, adjusting his hat. The castle's shadows seemed lighter, its ghosts silenced by truth. Japp joined him, shaking his head. "You're a marvel, Poirot. How'd you know?" "The little grey cells, mon ami," Poirot replied, a smile playing on his lips. "They see what the heart conceals." He turned, cane tapping, ready to leave the serpent's lair behind. The mystery of Amelia Sinclair solved, her justice secured.